Welcome back. It's Evil Monday. If you're watching this in the Shallontrage, you know what time it is. It's time to be evil. And if you're watching this on YouTube, because I decided, why not put this on YouTube? Come join us in the Shallontrage. You're gonna love this video. It's about history, Machiavellianism, destroying your enemies, and some kind of brutal truths about life. But I'm gonna tell you how to turn a brutal truth into a way to manipulate people. Because like I said, it's Evil Monday. And if you join the Shallontrage right now, you get a week free. So come binge. We do pretty fucked up videos all the time. They're great. Okay. So you know where I am. I'm in a dorm room in Oxford. I'm in Exeter College. And you can't be in a place like this without just thinking about history. That's the whole deal. I think about history a lot because I'm just a nerd and my mind is always going there. I know in a past life I've been told several times, I was a warlord or something probably fairly unsavory. And my mind is constantly thinking about battle and historical moments, kings, more warlords, and it doesn't help matters that I travel to Europe a lot. And this is just where my heart and my brain, my nerd vibes live. And in every country, in every major city in these countries, the historical sort of shake-up point is different. If you go to Rome, what do you think they think about? Ancient Rome, right? You go to Greece, they're thinking of ancient Greece. You go to Vienna, it's all about that empire and the Austrian Empire and the Habsburgs and Maria Theresa and Empress Sisi and stuff like that. Go to Scotland, it's Robert the Bruce. It's their whole fight for independence and autonomy, James I. England, specifically Oxford, I have noticed. And obviously I can't speak for all of England. I'm not trying to totally represent all of English history because the history of England is the history of civilization. It's a history of colonies and exploration and culture and art. And I mean, everything kind of circles back here. Well, it circles back to Rome, which circles back to Greece. But you know what? We'll let the Brits have this. What I notice is very significant in not necessarily just England, but this echelon of Britain, this upper class aristocratic ecosystem that Oxford is the pinnacle of, right? The big tipping point was not Tudor England, King Henry VIII splitting the church. Huge, right? Huge. It was World War I. It was World War I. I have heard more about World War I in the last 2 weeks, probably than I have in my entire life combined. It looms so big. Bigger even than World War II. Bigger than World War II. Which I think is so interesting. Bigger than the British Civil War. Did you know England had a civil war? If you're American, you're like, no. Don't beat yourself up, girl. We're the product of the American educational system, and it's just amazing I can even read, right? Honestly. Just the TLDR on the English, Civil War. Basically, they chopped off a king's head, Charles I. And Oliver Cromwell, you probably heard his name. Oliver Cromwell swept in, and holy shit, he was no fun. And people had weird names like Unity, Best Friend, Universal, weird shit. He outlawed dancing and cards and probably kissing or looking at other people. Is this why you guys don't have ice? I'm just a little salty about the lack. There's 10 ice cubes spread across this entire nation, and I am out to find them. It's crazy. When I'm like, can I have a lot of ice in a drink? They're like, 4 cubes it is. Americans love ice. I don't know why, but we do. Why would you want something room temperature? I digress. We're talking about Charles I. So yeah, they chopped off a king's head. It was their sort of Marie Antoinette moment. But just like the French Revolution, which happened about 150 years after the British Revolution, they got Charles' son back on the throne because they're like, this Cromwell dude is a buzzkill. He fucking sucks. And you know what? Actually, it's not that bad. I know we just cut a head off of. I know, but just is there maybe another king lying around? There is. It's his son, and he's been trying to get back on the throne and mount armies, like in Scotland. He wants to come back? I mean, yeah, if he's not going to be weird about it, we don't need to be weird about it. Come on. So then Charles II came in, and it was just a debauched, wild age. And then things got really fun and interesting for a while. But we must fast forward. Britain was, I mean, an insane superpower. And the aristocracy of Britain was fucking undefeated, right? Why? Because at that time, in, I mean, the history of Britain, right? Land was king. Land was everything. Not just to be like, I have all this space and I can build houses. Houses didn't really matter. Agriculture mattered. Agriculture mattered. And so you had tenant farmers on these huge 100,000-acre estates with these gorgeous houses and miles of gardens and whatever. You had people farming that land and paying rent to the aristocrat, the duke, I don't know, do Brits have barons? I don't think you guys do. Oh, look, listen, isn't that so charming? What time is it? Oh, I should be at the library. But we are doing something intellectual right now. So yeah, you had dukes, you had earls, you had lords, marquise, a baronet. Is that right? I know my Italian chain of command. I get fuzzy on English and how it swaps in certain places with French. There's like counts on one side, but not the other. Anyway, these people were wealthy because of the rents they were getting paid, right, from their tenant farmers. And that was going great for these aristocrats. I mean, they were, the wealth distribution was fucking wacky. And this held tight until 1914, when World War I broke out. And if you're an American, you might be like, huh, yeah, World War I. Yeah, real bad. Trench warfare, Archduke Franz Ferdinand started this whole thing. Huh. We as Americans don't think that much about World War I. I don't know why. We are much more focused on World War II. I mean, you had Pearl Harbor, you had the atomic bomb. Like, America really stepped up as a world superpower then. And also, World War II brought us out of the Great Depression. Because once we started like making munitions and like war machines and shit like that, people were able to work. They had jobs. And if we had not gone to war, who knows what would have happened to our country and how long that depression would have lasted, which is kind of fucked up to think about. So my point is, forgive yourself if you're like, there's a lot about World War I like kind of didn't know. It is much bigger in Britain. It's much bigger. So yeah, 1914 fucked some shit up. Also, not just because of the agriculture did this like echelon of like rich fancy people have a lot of power. They were also in the House of Lords. So it's kind of like the Congress if you're in America. You know, they were that. You didn't have just like the coal miner's son running to be governor. It was hereditary. It was a boys' club. It was a power thing. And so they were responsible for making laws, slowing down legislation, keeping people down, keeping colonialization up. They were also hugely infiltrated into the clergy. So you have them controlling farming, government, and the church. I mean, that's a trifecta of power, right? Can't knock the hustle. So how did the war fuck this up so badly for them? Because you might be also saying to yourself, it's a war. It fucked things up for everyone. This is true. That war killed an entire generation of young men, as wars tend to do, don't they? It hit the aristocracy especially hard because, number one, if you were like a gentleman, one of your son was expected to go into military service. Like that was the pipeline. It was social clout and it was patriotism. And you were like the defender of the realm. And that was all fine and good. We just had these little skirmishes. Oh, are we in Turkey? You know, little things. The war comes along and these young men are officers. They're not enlisted. They're officers. And so they're at the front lines. They had an 80% kill rate. 80%. If you know anything about the Vietnam War in America, it was the same thing. I was in ROTC. I almost joined the Army. If I had joined, I would have graduated as an officer. I would have been a second lieutenant. Second lieutenants, highest kill rate in Vietnam. And so, again, like that's why Vietnam was so horrible for America for that whole generation. And all these hippies and counterculture came out of that because the kill rate for young men, especially young educated men, aristocratic men who are becoming officers and second lieutenants, I mean, they were cannon fodder. It was horrible. And I remember learning that in the Army. They're like, you could very easily be like the first to die if you get deployed somewhere. And so since so many of these officers in World War I, since so many of them died, they were many times, they were the only male heir. If they were the only male heir to this aristocratic family, that family was kind of fucked because property didn't pass to women. Isn't that wild? Like, did you watch Downton Abbey? That's the whole plot line. Is like the bitchy one, she needs to marry the cousin because then the house will stay in the family. And the cousin's like, it was just a whole thing. Women didn't inherit. Same with Pride and Prejudice. That's why Mrs. Bennet needed to marry all of her daughters, lest their home go to like Mr. Collins. Like, he's ridiculous. Like, that was very real. And so what happened, because these young men were gone, who inherited these huge country houses? These random fucking cousins. And they come in and they're like, I don't know. Like, they might be straight from the war also, shell-shocked, like completely fucked up. They didn't know how to maintain that house. And most importantly, they didn't have the money. And you might be saying, well, what do you mean they didn't have the money? These estates are still making money, right? It's like an Airbnb. Like, it's still there. There's still people booking it. Like, how is this land not making money anymore? So in a few ways. Death duties, they're called death duties, basically an inheritance tax. A lot of that changed. And since these places were now like turning over faster, a huge chunk of the amassed wealth of these places were like up in smoke, going to like the IRS, basically. The government had to raise these taxes to pay for war debts. And they went straight for the aristocracy, which was like a good PR move because, yeah, you have like the baker's son going and fighting out there, and he comes home and he's like right back to baking, missing an arm. And this other kid goes back to his estate. Who should be paying more taxes here? Listen, that's a whole other, we'll talk, we'll get it later, but that was a big issue. Also, there was an agricultural depression. So these farms weren't making as much money. So you compound all of these things. And it was just kind of this perfect storm to really fuck the aristocracy. And not to mention, these houses were old as shit. Do you know how much it is to like paint just the outside of a house? I do, because I have a house in Montana. To paint, I have a 2-bedroom house and I have a guest house, like same property. To paint both of those things is $30,000. I mean, it's a 4 or 5 bedroom house. Like, it's not, and a guest thing. Like, it's not on a state. It's in the suburbs, for Christ's sakes. Like, it's really not that impressive. You go out to the country, you have 29 rooms, stable, servants' quarters, da, 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 da. How much do you think it costs to put a roof on that? How much do you think it costs to update the windows, to pay the servants, to pay the heat, to keep up the landscaping? It's a lot of money. So these people were now the ones who survived, the aristocracy that survived. They were land rich, but they were cash poor. And if you watch shows like The Gilded Age, or even, like Downton Abbey, like the main couple, you know how Elizabeth McGovern, she's American. Why? Because she is exactly who that estate needed, like the British guy, Lord Grant, whatever his name is. She had money. He needed money. She wanted a title. This is exactly what happened during this age after World War I. When you had the Gilded Age, you have over in America, families, the Knickerbocker set, right? The Knickerbocker list, making just jillions of dollars. J. Pierpont Morgan, Vanderbilt, Singer. I mean, they were like the richest people in the history of the world. It was absolutely demented. But they didn't have one thing: clout. They didn't have motherfucking clout. Like, they wanted the blue check mark, right? And what was the blue check mark back then? It was a title. It was a title. America at that time just had such a boner for trying to act cool and be like, no, we're just we're just as fancy as those European. We're creating our own classic culture. And the Europeans are like, cute. How old are you guys? How old's your nation? Like 100 years? 100 years old? Fuck you. Fuck you. But Americans were like, can we buy our way into this? And the Brits were like, actually, yes. Now you can, yes. Before, no. Now, as a matter of fact, you can. So these men who had titles, but no money, their estates were crumbling, they couldn't afford to repair it, they had titles. And so they linked up with these American broads who, like Consuelo Vanderbilt. And again, if you're watching the Gilded Age, you see that character that she's like playing, she's getting married, whatever her name is. She like is a Consuelo Vanderbilt character. And she's basically trading her fortune for a title. It was a miserable marriage. This girl gets into a miserable marriage. This is a whole different video. But so that's kind of like how they dug their way out of this. But not everyone did. Between 1918 and 1939, so basically World War I to World War II, a third of all British beautiful country houses were sold or demolished. I have a physical reaction to thinking about someone tearing down these houses. Like these beautiful, these palaces. I like architecture more than most people. It hurts me to my core. I mean, imagine if a third of Beverly Hills was just wiped out, a third of New York City, because they couldn't pay for it. So why are we talking about this? Like, where am I going with this? Okay, we're going a few different places. I think the Machiavellian lesson, because it is Evil Monday, I think a huge lesson here is when we want to destroy someone, or when someone wants to destroy us. Let's talk about destroying someone else. When we want to destroy someone, we focus on the here and now, right? I got to get her fired from that job. I got to get that guy to like leave her for me. I have to shame her at this party because I fucking hate her. Those are great. That's a great start. You really destroy someone though, not by ruining them in the present, but by destroying their future. That's what you do. You cut off the future pipeline, they rot from the inside. And it's slow, and it's painful, and they see it coming, and there's nothing they can do. So you don't go after your like arch enemy at work. You don't go for what she's doing now. You think ahead. Where is she trying to be in a year? She trying to be like junior vice president? Who would be her boss? Elizabeth? Guess who's Elizabeth's new best friend? Guess who is going to spend the next 11 months and 15 days poisoning Elizabeth against Madison? Me. That's what you do. Another thing you can do. You bleed someone dry, right? You waste their time. You use up their emotional currency, their bandwidth, their empathy, literally maybe just their money, and they will collapse from the inside out. Now, what's the spin on this? We have to be very judicious about people who do this to us. I've always said, your haters don't hate you for where you are. They hate you for where you're going. And no one believes in you like your haters. No one. The people who hate me, who try to cancel me, are the strongest fans that I have, because they saw me and they're like, we have to stop her. We have to. Because she's going like this. I still am. Go fuck yourself. But like, no one believes in your potential like your haters. And you have to be aware of that. And when you think you have a hater, when you have a jealous frenemy, when you have a coworker at work, do not underestimate that. Do not get too hyper-focused on how they're behaving in the here and now. Look at how they might attack your future pipeline and guard yourself against that. You become best friends with Elizabeth. Fuck Madison, like, or whoever. I'm mixing up the names in this story. You know what I mean. You get out in front of this. You get out in front of this. You want to identify your rival's largest ongoing expense. Maybe that's energy, time, bandwidth, money, emotion, whatever it is. And you want to draw that out until they collapse. And again, look at where people might be doing that to you. Just one more family dinner, just one more late night at the office, just one more business trip, just one more phone call with your mother-in-law, just one. But here's where else we're going to go with this. Like I said, Americans don't think that much about World War I. It's just like not, I don't know. And if we do, we obviously think of it through the lens of our own people, how it impacted us. And America, knock on wood, has been fortunate enough to basically fight no battles on our own land since the Revolutionary War and or Pearl Harbor. Like, we've been very lucky. World War I had an impact for the men who left, obviously, and who didn't come back. But in terms of our life here, nothing was destroyed, nothing was upended. Day-to-day life more or less rolled on as usual. You can even make the same claim for World War II when you compare it to like London getting bombed and air raids and kids having to be evacuated into the countryside and Paris and Italy, Russia. Obviously, America was not a theater of war in the way that Europe and North Africa and the Pacific and these things were. It just wasn't. What's my point? You're not going to like this. Your battles, your battlefields, your problems, they don't mean really that much to anybody else. They don't mean that much to anybody else, girl. Okay? And I say this with love because I feel like lately everyone wants their people's issue to be everyone's issue. But my people are suffering. Gosh, you know who that matters to? Your people. It's right there in the name, right there in that sentence. Your people need this or that or blah, 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 blah. I'm not making a case for being a complete sociopath and icing out the suffering of people around the world whatsoever. I am making a case for if you want empathy and help, you got to work smarter and not harder. Outrage gets you fucking nowhere. It actually is repellent. It's repellent. When people come to my YouTube channel and make whatever I'm talking about, they twist it into me subtweeting about Israel-Palestine, and I'm not. I don't want to hear one fucking word about whatever side you're on. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's not a good way to come at people to get them on your side. And if woke culture has taught us anything, I would think it would be that. I think it would be that. Okay? A better way to get people on your side is you got to make it about them. Humans are narcissistic creatures. Our favorite object in the world is always going to be a mirror, right? It's always going to be the selfie camera. How can you turn your crisis and your people's issue, need, whatever it is, into something that resonates with them? And this is like a big theme that we're exploring here at summer school with the creative writing that we're doing, because I'm in a fiction class, and a great piece of advice, I forget who said this. Was it Stephen King? No. Some author was like, if you want to write about man, write about a man. Don't write about like the experience of man, the experience of my people. Literally, science shows that you just tune it out. It's like, okay, you don't connect with it. You have to write about a man, a person. You drop into the story. This person is the archetype, like is emblematic of what's happening to my people. Okay? That's point number one. You got to put a real human face on it. Then you have to ask your audience, right? Your reader. Your reader is asking themselves, why should I care? What's in this for me? And we talk about that a lot around here, right? We talk about that in terms of fuckboys. That when guys, galvanizing example, I was actually in London a few years ago, and this guy, Cyrus, like was all up on me. Let's go home. I need to get you alone. And I just had this like flash, and I'm like, what would be in that for me? And he was like, I want you. I want you so bad. I said, no, that's what's in it for you. That's what's in it for you. What's in this for me? Are we going to Cartier tomorrow? Are you paying for my flight home? Am I getting invited to your family's house in Cyprus this summer? Are we gonna be dating? Do you want to get to know me? Like, what is in this for me? And he was like, dumbstruck. And I was dumbstruck at his dumbstruckediness, because I'm like, guys are so, it's never even occurred to them to come up with like a standard lie. Just like a lie in my pocket. Oh, well, baby girl, this is what's in it for you. Couldn't even fathom that the other person they're talking to wants to know why the fuck they should care. Cyrus would not make a very good writer. So, by the way, a year later, I saw him again. He pulled the same shit. I was like, and Cyrus, you've had a year to answer this question. What's in this for me? Couldn't do it. Like, you could have asked ChatGPT in this year. No, never hooked up with him. Why on earth would I? Idiot. So if you're trying to engender some sympathy, you have to remember what tugs at your heartstrings doesn't tug at everyone's, because something else is tugging at their heartstrings. And listen, girl, you can sit here and twist yourself into some sort of morose pretzel thinking, how could someone see this and not care? It do be like that sometimes. I think that about animals. I think that about conflicts around the world. I think that about a lot of stuff. And so does everybody. So does everybody. Your pain isn't that special to most other people. Okay? It's just not. This is the human condition. And you can get mad at this and you can call me a sociopath, but I am right. I'm right. And I'm trying to help you build a better sort of like empathy trap, not a mousetrap, an empathy trap. I'm trying to help you do this better, because if you move through life constantly asking yourself, constantly being prepared for the world or the victim of your seduction to say, wait a minute, hold on. What's in this for me? Whether you work in sales or you're doing government aid in Gaza, you need to ask yourself and be prepared for people to ask you that question. And you need to have an answer. Cyrus did not. Do you? Why should this person care about animal shelters? Why should this person care about saving the whales, about glaciers, about orphans, about this, blah, blah, blah? What's in it for them? I don't know that I have an answer for you. I mean, this is like the big question. This is why people go to sales summits. This is why charities give out like little branded tote bag, because we are all looking for the magic phrase, the magic word, the magic hook that gets something to convert. Sign up for that course, buy this thing, marry me, sleep with me, donate your money, join up for war. I don't have those answers. I mean, if I did, my God, I wouldn't put them in a free video. But I think you might not come to the exact right conclusion sitting for 5 minutes in Starbucks. But if you even pause to think about this, you will be light years ahead of your competitors. Light years. And let me tell you, let me underscore this again. Coercion does not work. Rage does not work. You don't believe me? Everything is everything, right? The dynamics of you trying to get someone to care about what's happening with your people. Let's template that into Cyrus. If when I asked him that, he was like, I fucking said you should sleep with me. Imagine. That wouldn't end well for him. That wouldn't end well. If he did that in public, because we were with a bunch of people at a very fancy club, very posh, someone would have punched him in the face. And that's what he deserved. Like, if he got up in my face and was grabbing at me, they would have torn a limb from him. People might not tear you limb from limb in an Instagram comment or at a dinner party, but they will distance themselves from you. That's not a way you sell a product. That's not a way you sell a sexual encounter. That's not a way you sell empathy and involvement. That's not a way to tug at heartstrings. You don't
It's not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. Because you know what? At the end of the day, no one needs to give a shit about what matters to you. I'm sorry, baby girl, but they don't. They've got their own problems. And I know. How can you see this and look away? It happens all the time. And you know how I know it happens all the time? Because I am a student of history. I am a student of history. The atrocities, yeah. It's easier than you think. You have to win hearts and minds. You have to get people on board from an organic place where they almost think it's their idea, where they feel good about helping. They don't feel, I guess I'll go to this march. Jesus, stop it. That will burn out very fast. And then you're going to be working against yourself. Half the super liberal issues in America, I might actually be on board with, but the way it's shoved down my throat, can go fuck themselves. They go fuck themselves. Do I have an actual problem with people who say they're non-binary? No, it's no skin off my back. But because it's in my face, they can go fuck themselves, and now I'm their enemy. Because I think they're ridiculous. Because I don't like to be bullied. Nobody does. Nobody does. And I see it as that. I see it as that. I don't see it as like passion. I don't see it as like, oh, they're virtuous. I see them as bullies. And bullies respond to strength. And I am not short on that. So, to wrap this up, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone the Atlantic and back. We've gone up and down the British Isles. We've even gone to Vienna. And we've talked about the impact of wars in history and how all these things tie together and the ripple effects. We talked about how to deceive enemies, cutting off their pipeline, and most importantly, because when we talk about evil, we must always flip it. When evil's being done to us, how can we do it to someone else who might deserve it? You know, we're not going to do it to someone cool. And we are looking at evil that has permeated the world. We must understand these tricks, these weapons, because they may be formed against us at some point. And we need to see them coming. We need to see them coming. And we can learn so much from history. So much. And speaking of history, guys, I've been working on the podcast. Crowned and Canceled is going to come out soon. I want to have a bunch of episodes, like at least 4, to put up all at once so you can just binge. And I'm going to pick a grab bag of subjects. It's not going to be like all Roman Empire 4 episodes. I'm going to kind of like dart around just to give you a little sample of kind of the subject matter. But yeah, we're going to be in ancient Rome. We're going to be in revolutionary France. We're going to be in Oxford, maybe the Wild West. But if you have some historical threads you would like me to pull, maybe it's just a genre or a time period or something really specific. Maybe it's like this person, this place, this incident. Let me know. Because what this podcast is going to be is like history told hopefully cool. But we're entertaining. I think I can make stuff entertaining. Hopefully you thought this video was entertaining. But then what can we learn? What can we learn from it? So it's going to be a lot like this video, but in a podcast. Because sometimes you don't want to see my face. Girl, I get it. I'm not looking forward to editing this video because I'm going to have to look at my own face again. And just, I know. I hate my hair without extensions. I look like I just escaped a convent. Okay, my loves. Remember, join the Shallon. Come on in. It's free. Come on in for a week. Give it a shot. Jump into our 30 group chats. Binge all the previous content. You can watch anything I've ever put on there. My best courses are on there. Evil Week, which is our most recent one, is all about social climbing. I think it's pretty good. So if hearing about aristocracy in Oxford and these like posh circles really kind of like lights you up, I'll tell you how to get into them. Because I have done this. So I'm still in the tea. I'm not gatekeeping one single thing that I have done to go from the childless single mom to the majestic douchebag you see before you today. Okay. I love you girls, and I will see you later. Mwah!